Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Tony Dudzik, Pick Guardian.
Hey everybody, it's me, Donovan. Welcome to the Guitar Knobs podcast. We are thrilled that you are listening to our show. We have Rob Chafe.
Hello.
Sitting shotgun to Tony.
Woohoo.
And
where does that expression come from?
Sitting shotgun from the stagecoaches,
right?
That's Wild West, man. They literally held a shotgun.
The guy that wasn't holding the reins was holding the shotgun.
Yeah.
We both know something that Tony wasn't aware of.
I'm shocked that you don't know that.
I wasn't around for the stagecoach days like you
but
two.
But all the useless knowledge you got up there?
Yeah.
Wow.
There's a lot of it.
Mark this day on the calendar.
Now, let's ask our illustrious guest today if he knew what it was. Go ahead. Guest, first of all, who are you? And then tell us if you knew what that meant.
Well, I'm Hank Donovan, and I am Rattlesnake Cable Company. And yes, I did know about shotgun. This is the Wild West. That's where I'm from.
He's in Montana.
Yeah, right.
It's still the Wild West there.
Yes.
Well,
yeah.
Wild North.
Yes. Indeed. So Hank from Rattlesnake. Now, you might, depending on who you are, you might remember Hank's first visit to the show. This was which episode, Tony?
17.
17.
17.
17. Not 117, not 217, not 317, but 17. And
back when.
I'm still stunned that people even said yes to come on the show back then. But I'm awfully glad that you did, because we introduced a very small audience to some really fantastic cables, and everybody that's gone back and listened, which are actually quite a few people, also got to experience it. And we thought, hey, you know what? It's time to bring him back on, because he's evolved, as we have since then, into all kinds of things, and still making, I would say, the best dang cables, out there for what they do, and that's pretty cool. I'm still using the same ones I got way back then, gigging and at home.
Sweet.
Yes. So we're going to find out all the things about what exactly he's doing and why they're great, and all kinds of good stuff. And in the meantime, we're going to have a little bit of non-sensory. So
Yeah.
Hope you took your Imodium.
Comes with the territory.
I'm going to switch my headphones out.
Switch it out.
Twisted up.
Oh, yeah, because your left was right and right was left.
Well, no, it was the cord was. It's still. How is that possible? It's still twisted. Anyways, we're going to get through this. We have a couple of by the way, and if everybody's like, okay, so what's up with this Rob Chafe guy? If you haven't listened, or if you skipped magically all the ones that he's been on, Rob, what do you do? Thanks a lot, Rob. Now, let's get going on with... Go ahead, Rob.
So rude. I work on guitar amps and pedals and basically anything that's electronic musical instruments.
Yes.
So not just guitar stuff.
How about tape decks?
You know,
you are the premier
there's
amp
a local guy that's
repair
really good
guy,
at that, not me.
In the greater Midwest, I'd say.
Okay.
I'm going to say
I'll
that.
take that. I was just going to say like my neighborhood, but okay.
Yeah. Well, I'd put you in at least the Quad State area.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Anyways. So, by the way, if you are regionally bound to Ohio and you're like, I still need an amp repair because I got a real nice amp and I need it repaired, you might want to check them out. And if you just want to learn about goofy things that happen with amps, Instagram at
Mad Cow Amplification.
That's right. It's really entertaining. And he's got some kind of giveaway for how many people can count how many Fender hot rods he's worked on.
Ever? Oh, dear Lord. I don't. Yeah.
That really should be a thing. You should figure that out.
Okay. I couldn't.
He's going to provide
I'd have to extrapolate.
a used set of 6L6s.
Yeah, there you go. Pulled from a Hot Rod Deluxe.
Yeah. Anyways, let's get on. We got a couple of announcements here. One of them came from our pal Stu. Stu of WPA. And he said, hey, I'm catching up on episodes, kind of out of order. Just finished Marshall 101, parts 1 and 2.
Nice.
Man, we've gotten so much feedback on that one.
That was a
stuff.
good duo.
They were great, but I'm voting for a part 3.
What would part 3 be?
Hang on. I'm about to tell you, Rob.
Okay, well.
So impatient.
That was setting you up, Todd. Never mind.
Mainly due to the hurrying up at the end. Well, we were aware, Hank, if you weren't aware of this, which I'm sure you weren't because you were living your life, we had a dual episode of Marshall 101s.
All recorded on the same night.
All recorded on the same night. It was like 3 hours.
3 hours.
More than 3 hours.
So we had to split it into 2.
And you know, most of the stuff we skipped was,
Yeah, there was. But hang on. But wait. There is actually a bit more to talk about with the JCM 900, the multiple models and wattages, the DSL combos, and you could even make mention, and this is where I thought this got really interesting, of the builders and modders like Friedman, Head First, Monolith, Metropolis,
George.
and a couple other ones. I'm not criticizing, just encouraging. Anyways, as always, keep up the good work and take care. Well, thank you, Stu.
Yeah.
And I think that is worth maybe talking about because there are some really notable, offshoots. We don't have to do a 3-hour program on it.
There's a lot. You know what I'd vote to do? There's a guy up in Canada, it's a buddy of mine that does Marshall. I don't want to say straight up clones, but his takes on vintage Marshall circuits.
Yes.
So it's 800s, 70s, 60s, plexis, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
He would be a great guy to have on and to talk to him about that because he's been inside everybody else's circuits, kind of knows what's going on with all those guys you just mentioned too. And so.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, let's do it.
Yeah, if you want to do that one.
Okay.
Modding your Marshall 101.
You heard it from the men across the aisle here. Marshall 101 Part 3.
If you want to mod your Marshall.
Now, Hank, do you play a Marshall?
I do not.
Have you played a Marshall?
I have played.
Have you owned a Marshall?
I have never owned a Marshall.
Okay. What do you play?
My primary amp is a matchless. I have a HC30.
Nice.
And then the amp I played forever before that was a Rivera Knucklehead.
Okay. 2 very good amplifiers.
Yep.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun.
I had an HC30 with a 212 cab for a few years. Everywhere I took it, people complained.
It's so loud.
So loud. Even on the low power setting, it's so loud.
There's nobody for Hank to complain to.
True.
To complain to Hank, I'm sure.
Right.
Within a 40-mile distance, his closest neighbor in Montana.
Yeah.
That's a
every
Montana
amp I've
joke,
ever had,
everybody.
that Rivera Knucklehead's 100 watt. You can't even go past 2 without dust coming off the ceiling.
Jeez.
So every band I've ever been, we've always been too loud. But that's what I run is HC30 with a 2x12 Avatar open back.
That's a great amplifier.
Heck yeah, man. I don't know if we'll do a 101 on Matchless, but heck yeah, man. Okay, so that was the announcement. Oh, no. I got a couple of more announcements.
More announcements.
So we've been gathering up a couple of giveaways for our patrons on Patreon.
Yes.
We got another one from Tour Gear who sent us some tea that he's doing. He's running he's helping out a new business friend up there, and anyway, so he sent us some tea, and we're gonna give one of these big packets. It's like a big giant envelope of Canadian tea.
Is the tea grown in Canada?
I would assume so.
Well, are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure. I'm assuming.
Sure,
anyways,
sounds good.
So, anyways, there's that. In addition to the we've already met. Actually, it should be given away by this time, I'm hoping. If not, we will have given away the Daredevil pedal and the Hello Sailor Rangemaster.
Wow.
Yes.
Just giving everything away.
Whatever we get in, we try to get in the hands of our patrons on
Can
Patreon.
we give away Rob's iced tea?
No.
Anyways, let's move on. What is going on in our music worlds this week? First, we're going to hear from Tony Baloney.
Yes.
And then we're going to hear from our good friend Hank.
Well, Todd, this week, actually this Saturday, the Chinese Malcolm Young tribute guitar arrived. And all in all, a pretty decent instrument. But
it's left-handed.
no, no, that would be cool.
That'd be awesome.
And it took a hit in shipping, which is is a problem.
It did?
Yeah,
Already?
in shipping.
You haven't even got it.
No, I got it on Saturday.
Okay, my bad.
Do you want to follow along, Todd?
I'm sorry.
See, when I say that the
right,
guitar
yeah.
arrived on Saturday,
I thought
that
you were
means
saying it arrives on Saturday. I get the D and the S messed up.
Oh,
Okay.
maybe
English
I was
hard.
maybe I was slurring, but I wasn't. But anyhow, it's not a horrible ding. In fact, today I took it over to my buddy Sean's, and we actually did a really nice touch up. I found this UV Cure urethane, which is actually pretty nice, and because it has a urethane finish, poly finish. It's really the only thing. You could build up super glue and stuff, but the finish that they used did have a tint to it. Mm-hmm. So we were able to add in a it's a tint that you would put in lacquer, but because the urethane allows you to do this, you can add it into there, and we actually got a really, really close matchup of that. Now you can still see some of the little spider cracks and things in there. I don't care. I just didn't want a missing chunk of finish. But the cool thing about this urethane is you can mix it up. Play with the tinting and things like that. You brush it on, or in this case, we just used like a popsicle stick kind of thing to kind of pack it on there, and then you let it sit for a little bit. You can bang on a little bit to get any bubbles out, and then I just have a UV flashlight. And boom, cure it for 30, 60 seconds. And literally you can go right into sanding and scraping and making it happen. So the product that I used is called Solar Ease, solar and an EZ at the end. And I'm pretty impressed with this product. It actually works really well. You can build up multiple layers. There's some videos of guys actually finishing entire guitar bodies with this stuff, and they do it in kind of as long as there's no UV light present, you can slap this stuff on, move it around, and then when you're ready, either expose it to sunlight or if you have a UV light inside.
Ah, okay.
And
so it's kind of like a passive catalyst.
Then the UV is the catalyst, yes.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty cool product. So if and urethanes are terrible to try to build up quickly and match. And this one, given the fact that you can tint it, the only tint it won't take is because it blocks UV light is red.
Interesting.
So if you have obviously pure clear, in this case it was kind of an ambery, kind of yellowy color, that's fine. But yeah, the only caveat they said was don't use red.
Interesting.
That's
all
pretty
right.
cool.
So, all things considered, I'm still putting it back together. New pickups, new tuning machines, level frets. But it's actually a pretty nice guitar.
I can't wait to see it.
Yes, I think you'll like it.
Super duper. Hank, what is going on in your music world this week? Maybe withstanding the big bad world of cables.
Well, recently I have been playing with this thing by DF Audio. It's called a Mini Bay Patch Bay. It's a desktop patch bay. So one of our team members is a fantastic musician, does a lot of synth, guitar, bass work, and runs it all through Pro Tools and has a bunch of pedals. And I wanted to hook him up with a patch bay because I personally didn't know much about it. I don't think he really did. And this was a really great way of learning and experimenting with a patch bay, which I think is pretty sweet once we started looking at it, like what you can do, routing different synths and having multiple effects and then be able to patch them in and out between synths and then having it all go into an interface on a computer, all just on the desktop, where I've looked at rack mount patch bays and you just kind of go, I don't get how any of that stuff works, where this very tactile, you can kind of see the routing since it's all on the top and on the back instead of like front and back.
Right.
So that's been kind of interesting. They're out of Australia, I do believe. And
What's
we
the
just
brand
got
again?
that in. DF Audio.
DF Audio.
Yeah. And the unit is called a Mini Bay V2. Because then that's the V2 part is pretty cool because you can control the normaling switching via dip switches in that. So again, that's another aspect of patch bays. I was always confused by like normaled switches where things are passed through automatically or not.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was kind of fun. It's not my world, but I love, it deals with a lot of cables. They 1/8-inch mono jumpers and TRS.
but it's my world now.
Yeah,
baby.
All routing. It's fun.
Nice.
Very cool. Rob, how about yourself?
I've been playing around with more pedals. Pedals.
Yes.
So yeah, comparing, I think I found out that I really, for a subtle gain, clean boost kind of thing, I like the clon circuits. I think I figured that out over like a Tube Screamer or Blues Breaker.
I need to hook you up with a couple of them.
Okay. What do
Yeah.
you got? You gonna give me a preview of what you got?
No, there's like 4 or 5 of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then you can check them out and see what the difference is.
Cool. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
And the ones you don't like, just sell.
Yeah, that's what I was going to do. Just put them up on Reverb. Well, I found 2 in particular because I've gone through maybe a dozen.
Which 2?
A Archer,
Yeah.
the gold one. So I don't remember which one
Right.
that is, but and then the Ryra.
Okay. Yeah. Those are 2 leading clones.
Yeah, I've really liked those. The ones I haven't been particularly impressed with was the King of Tone. Yeah, it was okay. If it was a $200 pedal, I'd be like, okay, that's cool
Yeah,
for somebody.
But it's not.
It's not. And it wasn't even if it was $200, it wouldn't be my favorite one.
Yeah. Interesting.
Likewise, the Prince of Tone was.
Yeah.
There were a couple other ones I tried. I can't remember what they were now, but yeah, that was the biggest one. I was like, well, that's unfortunate.
Yeah. Or fortunate because you didn't.
Well, yeah, I guess
Depends how you look at
Yeah,
it.
right. But yeah, so I've been playing around more and more, comparing those and stacking them into each other.
Very cool.
So
That's also very fun, especially when you are playing with front loading and rear loading of those pedals. Hank, are you a clone or whatever fan?
Yeah, I think they're pretty sweet. I played with a few, but I don't own any. Right now, we're actually giving away on the website right now a Bowman Audio Endeavors.
Oh yeah, those are cool.
And that's a clone.
Yeah.
Love that. Played that for a
sign
minute.
up for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How
wanted
is that
to.
going to be up? So this is going to air next week.
Yeah, it'll be up.
Oh,
It ends
sweet.
on November 17, I think. Right around in there.
Good.
So,
You'll just be able to get in. So make sure. Where can people go to find out what you're doing? By the way.
Just in general?
Yes.
Like just our website. So yeah, rattlesnakecables.com, Instagram and Facebook /Rattlesnake Cables, all sorts of good stuff there. And yeah, if you go to Instagram or whatever, you'll be able to catch that giveaway really easy to
Very
get
cool.
on the site.
Giveaways are fun.
Instagram, you say?
Yes.
Yes.
Have you
He's
heard of it?
signing up right now.
Yes.
Todd,
I
what
have
about
one of
you?
those.
Well, 2 things. Speaking of giveaways,
Yes. Into the microphone.
I'm
Speaking
going to
to the
give away
microphone.
something right now.
What are you giving
Well,
away?
it has to do with my music week. So I went and I mentioned I got this cheap speaker from our local used record place called, or not record, but a music place called Music Go Round. And it was, we believe it's an early.
It's actually a national franchise.
Well, yeah, but our local one.
Yes.
I didn't go to the national franchise. I went
Okay.
to this one.
Okay.
Wow.
You went to one of the national
Yeah,
franchises.
anyways. We believe it's a very early hempopotamus. It is a 30-watt Alnico, but it's their like pink Bismo, like Pepto-Bismol pink, mushy like back, like with a little lumpy in the back, like Tony. Anyways, put that in. And did some refinements to the little Hello Sailor amp to kind of just freshen it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Really happy with the way it turned out.
Yeah, it looks
sounds
good.
great.
It looks good.
It looks great.
Sounds good too. You played it earlier. For
I
us.
did. I'm definitely gonna. I think I'm gonna record with it next time as like a a second or thirdary amp just to throw some extra color on some stuff because it sounds great.
Cool.
And anyways, whilst I was doing that,
at the same time,
I've got something
What'd you get? Ooh,
for Tony.
something for me?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. What could it be? It's a speaker. Oh.
So when I was looking there, I saw this Jensen speaker sitting there, and I was like, "Whoa, that's a really nice speaker." And it was. Is
this
the
one that I said?
Yeah, and he said it should be about twice that price. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna get this for Tony. So there you go, Tony.
Nice. Thank you, Todd.
You contribute
Wow.
so much to this
Holy crap,
podcast, and I appreciate you so much.
That is
Yeah.
really nice.
P12Q.
It's a P12Q Jensen.
8
And it has, this is the one that has the little bell housing over the Alnico magnet.
Yeah,
Very cool.
Wow.
Thank you.
Okay.
you're
Wow.
welcome.
Okay, where's mine?
Oh, you got the tea.
Ah.
Hey, I got the tea too.
Yeah, I know. Anyways, so
Here,
there
do
you go,
Do
Tony.
you want my tea?
No,
Thank you,
it's
Todd.
all right.
That was really that is very special.
Tony-
You know, the day after I went back onto the site and it was gone.
I know.
And I said, well, shit, it wasn't meant
I
to
got
be.
it. As soon as you're like, well, I'm going to go down and get it. And I'm like, no, you're not.
Uh,
Because Tony, I think we all know people out there. Hank, I'm sure you probably know a couple where it's like, we're grown adults, and if we want something,
sometimes.
you're like, well, I'm going to go get it. And so when you're able to, get something and somebody's not expecting it, especially if you're like, ooh, it's still there, I'm going to get it. And you go down there and you're like, oh, it's gone. Somebody got it. But then
Yeah.
you get it.
Yeah, this one, they didn't have it listed properly. And this is the...
I'm not going to tell them.
well, don't tell them for whatever you do. We'll have to put some new things on here.
Yeah. But anyways, here we go. Let's get on with the next little bit of stuff. Tony,
Yes, Todd. What are we doing?
we're doing a 4 on the floor.
Let me get a little bit of this!
1, 2, 3. 4 on the floor. All right, Hank from Rattlesnake.
All right. So it's going to be kind of sad because we did episode 17, right?
Yes.
3 out of my 4 are still the same.
What?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So I tell you, that's why I like those 3.
Okay,
so
let's do
the
it.
first one is that Jengengar by Pladask Elektrisk, which is from Norway.
You're going to have
It's
to
my-
spell that.
I can't spell that. You have to just kind of sound it out. And
Jengengar.
Google tell you. Jengengar, and I think it starts with a J. And
Yeah.
I could be wrong. Or G.
And it's the Jengengar. What's it called?
The company is Pladask Elektrisk, and it's Norwegian.
Pladask.
Yeah, Pladask, something like that.
There it
and
is.
Elektrisk.
The Fabricat? Nope.
Yeah, the Jengengar, which I don't think they make anymore, is a delay.
Okay.
It's a gated delay with a oscillating
It's
foot
a
switch.
GJ.
Oh, there you go.
There we
Together.
go. All right. Boy, glad we solved that.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So I love that pedal because the whole idea of the gated delay is if you play lightly, there's no delay. You start smashing it, and then delay just magically appears. So you can adjust that threshold. And then there's two buttons. One turns the effect on and off. So you can have it on and then play lightly and no delay and mash it and a delay. The second button is just that oscillating feedback. So at any moment, if the pedal's on or off, you can hit that button and just long press it. And you just build up, the swirling epic feedback. So it's like a mood machine. It's great for intros and swells. It's great for playing a lead and then in the end just making the whole thing just go insane, just swirling out of control. So I love that pedal. It's the only pedal I've ever had that I use as kind of a tool for kind of creating emotion in a way when I'm playing. So if I'm trying to play loud, I want it to get weird. That pedal just automatically gets you there.
Got it. We started looking this up, and right away we're like two buttons. All we're seeing is the V2, which is apparently one button, or maybe
with a bunch of switches.
Yeah, it looks really cool though, like very versatile. So I guess the only difference would be that there's that big knob, not Tony, that is controlling the rate. Was it the rate?
Yeah, it is strange. I see one that's close to mine, but mine has
the feed.
Oh yeah,
yeah. That's the one that the other button is you're saying controls. Yeah,
I am 100% wrong. It's one button, but you can use the one button to turn it on and off. But you can long press the one button.
Okay.
So
That's
technically,
cool.
the pedal's not on, and you can long press it and let go, and the pedal's not on.
Ooh, I like this.
Right, and the light comes on when it's on, so you just tap it and it's on, and then it's like the gated delay.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I just had a brain fart there on the two things, but yeah, I treat it with two functions, but I mainly use the long press. That's where it's at for sure. That's to me like why I really like it, and it's super analog-y, dark sounding delay, so it's not clean. It's all swashy and kind of menacing about it. So yeah, that's still my number one.
You don't happen to have the Reform, do you?
No.
Because that's going for almost $1,000.
Todd would like to offer you $50 for one if you do have it.
Yes.
No.
Good night, Gracie. Okay, how about number 2?
Number 2 is still going to be Earthquaker Devices Dispatch Master. That thing cannot not use it. It's always on, or not always on, but I'm always going to it, either for intricate verses, light, swirly reverb delay, or I love feeding my number 3, which is my overdrive, the Creation Audio Labs Holy Fire, into that for leads. And that goes into that, and it just kind of explodes. So that's that part of the equation too. So I usually use it for real quiet, nice, pretty parts, or I use it for just gnar. And if I do Holy Fire, Dispatch Master, and the Jengengar, that's where amp starts shaking and it sounds pretty wicked.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. I'd really be into hearing some of that action.
Yeah.
So how about number 3?
That's Creation Audio Labs Holy Fire.
Oh,
my only problem with the Holy Fire is it tends to break, and when it breaks, there's a tube in it, and mine is the 24 volt version. And there's a 9-volt version. I literally have 2 of these pedals, so when one breaks, I send one in, and I still have a backup. That's how much I like that pedal, because when that pedal breaks, I have to get something else. It just really just doesn't fill the void for me. So literally, I have 2 of those. And it's one of those classic that are all potted and gooped. And so the foot switch tends to get wonky. And then when that gets wonky, I usually have to send it in, and then it eventually just stops working. And they just give me new guts or something, and they send it back.
Wow.
Then I use my number 2 until that comes back, and then I swap it back out. It doesn't happen all the time. Since I did episode 17, it's probably happened maybe twice, but definitely once, to the point where I had to get the second fill in. But I'm always wondering about right now. It's getting the finicky where I feel like, it doesn't turn off or it doesn't turn on, and I have to kick it a little bit, and then I'm like, okay, it's going to be soon.
Have you tried other things that might do a similar thing?
Oh yeah, I mean, I used to run so many things for that spot. So I used to run a Tim for that spot a lot. That would be my number 2 if I couldn't use the Holy Fire. I'd probably go to the Tim. And then I used to use, what's that? Spaceman Aphelion. That used to be in there. Okay. So those are contenders, and I can put them in and put them out if, in a jam. There was also there was a Rabbit company. I can't remember. That was over by you guys. It's old. I don't even think they're around anymore. They had an overdrive that it would fit in that slot every once in a while too.
Wow.
But every time it's an example. Like when I first got the Holy Fire, I thought it was, it's all right. It's a little much. It does it sounds a little aggressive. It's not very transparent. And there's things about it I didn't like. I'd put it on the shelf. And then every time I'd put it out for a lead or something, I'm like, oh my God, this is what I've been missing is this thing. And it's just to embrace what that is. It's overdrive and distortion, but very amp-like. And it's, like I said, not transparent. It's a little bit on the dark side, but I don't care. It sounds great. And I'm trying to achieve, I almost like how it interacts with my other pedals, like the Dispatch Master. It makes my Dispatch Master freak out when I go push it with that. So those are things where I'm just kind of experiencing how it makes me feel when I play it.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm like, oh, it sounds just like my clean tone, except super loud. I'm just trying to figure out a tone that fits. And when I'm trying to do an explosive lead or some kind of feedbacky thing, that thing just crushes.
That's what it's all about. You got to just get what works and run with it. How about number 4?
Number 4, I've been really liking this. So I have all these different stages of gain in my setup, as far as I like my amp to be what I call just the medium grit, where if I start smashing it starts breaking up, but if I play light, super clean. I like it to be in that zone. Mm-hmm. So that'd be my one stage. And then we talked about the Holy Fire. That's over the top. That's full buck, we're going all out. And then I have a channel 2 on my match list that I like for it's a little, the F86 side. I like it. It's a little bit dirty. It's a little bit more crunchy, but I wanted something where it was just more overdrivey, hairy, but not super distorted. So I ended up getting a long time ago a Beatronics Overhive.
Oh yeah.
And I love that thing for a low gain overdrive. You crank it and it's still, just has the dirt just a little bit.
Killer
love that.
aesthetic too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Super, super nice dudes as well.
Oh yeah, they're great.
Yeah. That is a pretty fantastic little pedal and built like a tank.
Yeah.
I'd say if you can get your hands on one of those out there, I would do that. Well, Hank, I appreciate you sharing your new-ish 4 on the floor. And
maybe 6 years from now I'll have the same 3 and another new one. I don't know.
Yeah.
Nice.
I've had 6 of these Holy Fires.
They keep breaking every 2 years.
Yeah. So we need to find out what you're all about. What's Rattlesnake all about, and why they're great, and why you've grown so much in the last 6 years. What's the math on that, Tony?
Over 7 years.
Oh, 7 years.
2016.
7 years.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man.
Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy. Yeah, I mean, before the show we were talking about a phase of being a business where you're just, I want to say maybe a hobby, right? So Tony, you were talking about you were working for a while before you actually became the pick guardian. Mm-hmm. It was this phase of that. So when I think of Rattlesnake to me around 2016 was the beginning of, this is what I want to do for the future. And this is the direction I want to go into. In 2016, I had my own web development firm, and I was coding and did that for many, many years prior. And to think about, how do I transition from this job to another job, all still in the same place, in the same house, with my wife being involved in both businesses and trying to hire people, and how do I let go of really good paying jobs to sling some cables, and how does this all math out in life, and are we sure that this is what I want to do, right?
Yeah.
So that particular point of 2016 is really interesting. That is the point where, okay, we're committed and going to do this full time. This is what we want to do. And then the trick is, how do we do it? How can we actually quit my own job, my own business, and then start forming this other business and then moving forward? But that was the moment where it changed from a hobby and became the full focus. And from that point on,
you mean when you came on the show? That was
I mean, it was,
Yeah, after the show, he just exploded.
yeah. After talking to you guys, yeah, that was it. Yeah. But, just the psychological aspect of, making that transition was always very difficult. But luckily, I think, I can go on and on about our cables, and I stand behind them. I love them. I'm so proud of like what we did. But to me, I think our success over the years has really been trying to establish a really strong community and customer base, and working with musicians on a regular basis, every day, all day, being available on phone calls and emails and socials and all of that. I think those along the side of a great product is what aids that business to grow. You have the greatest product in the world and really horrible customer service or bad production or horrible morale in your team, and it'll all just like fall apart like a house of cards. Mm-hmm. Where I think from the moment Amy and I started this business, we really focused on the customer, and we all come from a service industry background. So thinking about restaurants and how they are successful and how to treat customers and what's important about consistency and reproducing that same experience from one time you go to the restaurant to the next time. And the whole idea of, you eat with your eyes first, you eat with your nose first. There's all this presentation and, just constant consistency. And then as a server working at a table, it's about providing great customer service to the people that are sitting there. So we always ship in fast. We always very over communicate and make sure everyone's treated really well. And they're just super stoked. And that is what creates that vibe of, telling friends and bandmates about our cables. Mm-hmm. Now, like I said, the cables have to be good. That's just a truth that has to be existing, right?
Yes.
We just don't hang our hat on that fact alone and say, well, we just make the best cables, therefore that's why everyone wants them. It's about all the pieces of that puzzle.
Mm. Well said. And let's talk about these spectacular cables. I'm going to mention the ones that I have. I'd say I've got a 20 foot. No, yeah, I think I got the 20 foot standard. Yep. And we'll go into what all the things are. And I have I've got two of the speaker cables, because the speaker cables are fantastic. I mean, they're
nice.
Those things are as thick as your thumb, and at the perfect length, indestructible. And then the first one that I got was the snakehead, because that's when I saw that. That's when I picked up the email and didn't call you. I emailed you, but I was like, wait a minute, that's different. And
right.
I always loop my cable
through the strap.
Strap, and this is specifically made to do that, providing the greatest amount of flexibility, not crushing the cable, not screwing up your guitar, and also still has the thing that their Rattlesnake is known for, which is the flex weave covering. Is that what it's called technically?
Tech Flex.
Tech Flex.
Yeah.
The Tech Flex covering. And the jacks are legit. A lot of times you get cables and you're like, hey, this is cool. And the jack's okay, whatever.
You mean the plugs?
Yeah, the plugs too.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's an input jack.
Whatever. Yeah, the plugs. I had a long day, whatever. Yes, the plugs are... it's just impressive. You get this and they're like, this is high quality. And just like you said, if you hang your hat on it, or if you say, well, we make the best, when you pick it up and you know it is just by the look and the feel of it, without even playing it, you're so many steps ahead of the game. So, and you bother to put it in nice packaging, and it's just a great presentation. It's quality from beginning to end, and that goes a long way, especially when you're buying utility gear.
Oh, yeah.
Tony's shaking his finger at me.
Now, Todd, I think we should point out to our listeners that no actual rattlesnakes are harmed
you were
in the
saying that the whole
manufacturing
time?
of these cables.
You were getting impatient with me over that?
Yes.
Jeez, my knees.
Well, you're babbling. You just
am I babbling?
You were just babbling.
A little bit.
A little bit? All right.
A
whatever.
little wandering.
Hey, I like to talk about the things
It was
I like.
it was becoming a Toddcast.
Oh, man. You guys are rough.
Yeah.
Podcast. So hey, so let's talk about like Todd was talking about the ends and everything. How'd you land on the plugs that you use for it and the cabling and all of that? Did you go through different options and testing?
Yeah.
And
Good thing I provided that segue.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Jeez.
Yeah, so it was just a series of getting feedback. Like if we talk about plugs right away, I mean, when we first started, we actually used Amphenol plugs that were quite popular in the boutique world, and I thought they were pretty awesome, and I like them. But immediately, it was a lot of people. It was like, oh, we need Neutrik. If they don't have Neutrik, we don't want them. And I started getting a little surprised by that, so I'm noting that. And then I just thought, based off of that feedback, that maybe what we'll do is we'll offer both, right? So you can pick between nickel and gold, Amphenol and Neutrik. And suddenly Neutrik was winning by a lot. So the idea of like stocking all this inventory for something that wasn't really that popular at the time. And I'm glad, because I mean, when I look at supply chain and all that stuff, I mean, Neutrik it's a big giant brand, makes great product. And even during the pandemic, it was a nightmare to get supply. And I think it'd even be 10 times worse if we went with any other brand. So that was the reason why we went to that particular for our main instrument cable. But our speaker cables, we went with Switchcraft 188s. And I just think they're insanely awesome. And they need to really be a big plug to accept. Those are dual 12 gauge conductors inside that wire. So I want to make sure that the pans can accept that nicely without, being too small and too tight and overheat. And those jumbo straights just really work perfect, and love them. People seem to really love them. We still provide Neutrik speak-ons. And then we have a right angle option also, and we actually do G&H for those. So we use G&H with jumbo shells on them, so we can accept that wider cable diameter. But the wire itself, that was a series of trial and error and experimentation until I figured out exactly what the components that I wanted out of there. I wanted a braided internal shield, oxygen-free bare copper. I wanted a 20 gauge conductor. And there was a capacitance rating that I want to get in that kind of sweet spot range. So when we work with our wire mill, that's when we were able to put that order in and then have that milled and then sent back. And then as we started, because when we first started, we didn't have speaker and we didn't have patch cable and we didn't have XLR. In fact, when we first started, we only offered straight to straight nickel plugs on that. That was it. So every 3-4 months, we'd maybe get enough money maybe we can start offering radials, and we'd get enough money that maybe we can get some speaker cable milled, and then we'd get that sent and then see how that was working. And eventually, and it was like flex patch and XLR, and we started, and then now we have color PVC, and it's a whole thing to go get it milled. And like I was talking about the pandemic, in the good old days, pre-pandy, it used to be a 6-week lead time to get cable milled, and now it's 9 months. So we have POs in 2024 today, So now the question is, did we get enough made? Do we get too much made? Do we have enough money to get, it's just like this whole thing where it's intense as
Sounds like you need to go into the milling business.
Oh my God. I walked into a mill and I remember mentally I was like, okay, I'm going to remember some of these machine names. Because in my mind, I was like, oh, there's going to be a giant machine where there's like copper poured into it and like chunks of PVC and out on the other end, like a pasta machine. It's like a cable comes out. And when I went into the mill, I just could not believe how every single stage of the cable is a machine that does it. There's one machine that just makes the 20 gauge conductor. And then that goes into another machine and makes the insulator that goes around that 20 gauge conductor. And that goes around another machine and gets a semi-conductive PVC on it. And these things are like 15 yards long, the machines. And I was like, oh man, I'm not getting in the milling game. Yeah. Wow. But it was fascinating. I had no idea that it was so involved. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's kind of like when you go to a printing press. If you've ever visited a printing press and you haven't been to one, you're like, what? What?
Yeah.
You thought it was going to be like a really big home printer or something? Yeah. Like a wide carriage or something?
Yeah. It's like, this is literally as long as a semi-truck. What the hell?
Yeah.
Anyways, well, that's thank you for giving us the insight on some of that and some of those decisions. I'd love if you could talk about the snakehead, because to me that was really a game changer. I'd never seen anything like that.
So my friend, who I was in bands with him for many years, and I'm still friends with him today. I actually worked in a restaurant with him before that, and he's the biggest. I always just jokingly call him like a cork sniffing guitar player. Like he just loves thinking all the gear.
Have you met Rob here?
Well, he might sniff the same cork. I don't know, but I'd go into practice and he'd be like, "You hear that? I changed one of the 12, one of the 12-inch speakers in my 4x12. I put greenbacks in that one and a scumback in this." And I'm like, it sounds the same to me every single time, loud, But he sat me down, actually recorded every speaker, and I'm like, wow, he really is a difference. Oh wow, and he'd really school me. And he was just always thinking about tone and like functionality, gear and everything. And, when you guys were talking about the plexis and stuff, he's like a huge Germino fan. And what was it? Divided by 13 was another one of those amps like that. But anyway, he had one of my cables and he was just like talking. We were trying to think of a way of getting a piece of sliding shrink tube so it would just be right at where it rubs against his Les Paul. And then you can move it and like slide it around. And then one day he's like, man, what if you just like stop that? Like just stop the weave and then just go on past that. And I was like, I try it. And we did it. And he's like, oh, this is what I want. And he's the one who came up with the name Snakehead. And, just one of those fortunate things that we were just like drinking a beer and talking about gear. And he came up with this idea. I was like, I wonder if anybody else will like it. I figured you'd be the only one. And sure enough, he wasn't. And it's been pretty popular. It's great.
Yeah. It's cool when you're like, derp, derp, wait, what's this? I have to have this now. This is going to change my life. And honestly, that made a huge difference in playing. And, if you're swapping out different guitars and stuff, it's just, it was a great idea. And for those, go to the website if you're able to right now, even if you're on your phone, go and check out the Snakehead on rattlesnakecables.com. And I think you will come to the same conclusion.
I also want to clear something up too, because there's a little bit of misconception with this, which is it's hard to convey that on the website sometimes. Sometimes people think I'm actually adding something to it, like extended protection or like more shrink tube. And it's actually the opposite. I'm taking that weave away. So it's just the raw PVC of the cable underneath is what is exposed. And then another misconception a lot of people have is they suddenly think these cables are directional. Like, oh, but I want to plug the Snakehead side into the amp and the other into my pedal board. Is that going to be okay? And it's like, doesn't matter. Just a cosmetic improvement for a specific function, but it's the same cable. You can plug it in either way you want. And
just don't plug it into your speaker.
Yeah, don't do that.
Hey, well, actually, while we're talking about that, if you don't mind, we might be rehashing a little bit what we did before, but having just come from a gig and knowing a lot of new musicians who are out there, putting their stuff together. Why do you want to use an actual speaker, quote unquote speaker cable, not quote unquote a real speaker cable, sorry, as opposed to, well, I got to get another guitar cable laying around?
Yeah, that's always an interesting conversation. And I actually wrote an article about it on our website, and I knew I had to back it up because, I mean, what do I know, right? I'm just a cable guy. But so I actually talked to Paul Rivera of Rivera Amps, and I talked to Ben Verellen of Verellen Amps. I still wish he was making amps. And I talked to Phil Jameson of Matchless Amps, and I asked all those three dudes that question if you can do that or not. And I wanted to make sure that was conveyed properly. And the answer obviously is no. But the reasoning more is about the physics of the cable. So a true speaker cable is a 2-conductor to send positive and negative for that circuit to the speakers, where you still have 2 conductors in an instrument cable. You have a center conductor and an outer shield. And one of the problems is you could potentially have resistance issue because the shield conductor is so much thicker than the 20 gauge signal conductor. So that's could potentially be bad. But the other idea is that 20 gauge conductor is so much smaller than like our 12 gauge conductor. So if things do get hot, you could have a short and that thing could melt inside of there and melt that insulation that separates the two. Where when you have that 12 gauge, it can take the heat, take the juice. I also had someone else, I kind of compared it like driving a car with a stick shift. Like if you plug in a guitar cable in a pinch, it's going to work. Because that was the argument. Well, I plug in a guitar cable and it works. So what's the problem? Mm-hmm. Well, I compare it to like, well, you can drive a point A to point B 10 miles across town and leave your car in first gear the whole time. You theoretically can get to point A to point B, but it's not good for your engine. It's not good for anything. It can get you there. So that's the way I kind of look at it. It's good practice to use a speaker cable. I mean, I would only use a speaker cable, absolutely. And I also like to use a beefy speaker cable.
Beefy.
I
was just thinking about the Tommy Boy speech. You can boy. Anyways.
Rob, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, so any size conductor has a maximum voltage rating, which would limit what it's safe to use before it break down. And then the smaller conductor, of course, will have more resistance, which is pretty important if you're running a tube amp into a low impedance speaker, like a 4 ohm load or something. Picking up an extra half an ohm or 1 ohm of resistance is huge. That'll drop your output by 20-some%. So
yeah.
Wow, really?
Oh yeah, sure.
And that's what I always hear. It's hard on your output transformer. So eventually you're gonna burn that up potentially.
You're mismatching a load,
and you're gonna be turning it up hotter to try to get
in
your
theory,
volume back.
Exactly.
In theory,
Yeah.
Eventually, you weld it all together.
So yeah, especially like what you're talking about. If someone uses a guitar cable, it's probably not going to be a 3-foot guitar cable either. It'll probably be like a 10 or 15, 20 foot. So then you add all that up and then loss of capacitance, everything else, and next thing you know, you're like, boy, I've lost a lot of power. I'm cranking it up. It doesn't sound right. Yada yada yada. So and some amps are very forgiving with mismatch impedance, and others are not at all. So you could, damage your output transformer. So,
What about bass amps? Because aren't those like even forgiving on that?
No, even more so because you've got a much higher secondary voltage coming off the transformer than you would. Yeah, the higher wattage. Because really, where wattage comes from, wattage is voltage squared divided by the resistance or the impedance of the speaker.
Everybody write that down.
So
it'll be a quiz later.
Yeah. So to get the higher wattage, what's actually changing on a guitar amp or whatever is the voltage, the AC voltage coming off the secondary from the transformer. So, with a bass tube amp, most of them are going to be 200 to 400 watts. That's way more voltage being applied to it. So yeah, you put a 20 or 22 gauge lead on there that's got a maximum voltage of, I don't know, whatever, low voltage and high resistance. Yeah. Not going to be good.
What about solid state? Because that's the thing always like puzzled me with like solid state bass amps. They didn't have like a ohm selector, just like it just magically manages that.
Well, yes and no. Yeah, getting some stuff there. I'll try to make this as short as possible because this is not the solid state versus tube 101 thing. But a tube amp, the output tubes effectively see the speaker load through a transformer. So that the job of the transformer is to match the speaker load for the tube operation.
So like if you have an old paper towel roll tube and
Where's this
I'm
going?
looking across at Tony, I can see. Okay, I'm tracking. Keep going.
Okay. All right. I don't know where he's going. Just yeah. Where a solid state product puts out a voltage that is consistent. It doesn't change with the different impedances. So what actually happens is the output device isn't dependent on the speaker load applied to it. It's going to put out a consistent. So like if you plug in a solid state bass amp and you play some notes and nothing's attached to it, it's still putting out 50 volts at 1K or whatever frequency you put into it, right?
Yep.
Doesn't matter. And if you notice, those amps are typically they're rated at a maximum wattage at a certain impedance. And then if you use a higher impedance, the wattage goes down. So at 4 ohms, it's 400 watts. At 8 ohms, it's 300 watts, and so on and so on. So you're wasting. I don't say wasting. You're not getting as efficient of an output from a higher load. But it's not actually a matching to the operation of the output device. It's kind of
Gotcha.
I'm sorry. We could get more into it, but it'd be
This
like
podcast
Homer
got
Simpson
way
right
interesting
now.
all of a sudden. Well, I know.
well, it got way something. Yeah. Sorry. You asked.
Yeah, I wanted to know. That's great.
Yeah.
Hey, who wants donuts?
So,
Hank, one of the blogs that you have on your website that I enjoyed was your discussion of the Rico sound.
Oh yeah.
And I think you were one of the few people that could actually explain. And what's cool about it also, you're able to incorporate a number of your products into doing that. So basically, out of a RIC that is equipped with Rico sound, there's generally 2 jacks on the instrument, and you have to use a TRS cable that goes into basically a splitter box, and that was the original Rico sound accessory that you had to buy in order to really use that. But you offer all of that stuff. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so there's a couple of uses with that TRS to dual mono splitter, but the Rickenbacker Rico sound is, I just remember being in the 90s and I'd have a friend or friends and they'd all have a Rickenbacker bass and then they'd all be excited about the Rico sound and then be like, yeah, but it's broken. Doesn't work, It's like, sounds cool, but it doesn't work. Just a neck pickup comes out and that's it. And I'm like, that's weird. And I just remember that, like, man, that sucks. You bought a used Rickenbacker bass and it doesn't work, but the standard output just magically works. Fast forward years later, I had a friend who had a 1979 Rickenbacker bass, and I wanted to borrow it for this Rico sound just to see what it was all about. I got a TRS cable going from the Rico sound because it's sending independent signals from both pickups. So neck pickup goes down tip and bridge goes down ring. Down the one cable goes into the TRS to dual mono splitter, where now you can have your neck go into one amp and your bridge go into another amp, or series of pedals or different channels, or is like all sorts of crazy stuff you can do. Simultaneously around that time, I was working with Kevin Burkett at Electrical Guitar Company, and he was working on these Jerry Garcia Travis Beans, and that uses an oboe, which is a onboard effects loop, where Jerry Garcia would have a regular cable going out of the output jack of the guitar, but then there was a TRS jack as well. And you'd run that to a splitter down to the ground, and then he would have a series of pedals on the ground. And he can activate that effects loop with a toggle switch on the guitar. And there was a blend. So you can blend in that phaser, pull it out all within the guitar. So Kevin wanted to do these reproductions of these guitars. So we started selling TRS and splitters to him. And there's so many, there's piezo magnetic pickup setups and acoustics, same principle, stereo jack, run a one line, and then you can, send the piezo to front of house, and magnet pickup goes into an effects loop and goes into your amp behind you or something. Then front of house can blend the two. You can do that kind of stuff with that. But that Rickenbacker bass, I thought it was so cool. Again, I was using a match list. So I had 2 independent channels on my match list. And I was like, okay, I'm going to put bridge to my channel 1. I'm going to like crank that so it's all dirty. And I'm going to send my neck to channel 2. And I'm going to like put some low end, but keep it real clean. And I'm switching my pickup selector, and it's going between those 2 channels in my amp. It's really cool. But then I could not believe the sweet spot of middle position. I was like, oh man, if I was a bass player, this would be my tone. Just a little bit of hair on the outside, a little growl, a little grit, but the whole meat of the bass tone was on my other channel, just clean and just thumping. And I was like, man, this is the best tone shaping setup I've ever had when I played a bass before. Like you can never get that out of a pedal, it's just like your low end, your mid range just drops and all that. And you can still have all of this low end yet grit. So, and another thing with the Rickenbacker, they used to do Y cables a lot with that. And I hate Y cables. We don't offer them. It's just a real potential point of weakness and eventual failure. But I love the fact that the splitter gives you flexibility. Like I can change my TRS length anytime I want. I can plug in patch cables to the 2 monos out and go into my pedal board 1 minute, undo it, put 2 long cables, go to my 2 separate amps, depending on your application or if you're in the studio. It just gives you whatever you need. And so that's one of the surprises that, when we started offering it, we just started seeing a lot of interest. Obviously, a lot of Rickenbacker players come by, and that's really cool. And it was really fun to hear people's stories of having a Ricco sound forever, like literally like 40 years, and then never tried the Ricco sound. I was like, oh man, get ready, buckle up. This could change everything for you, or at least it's going to be fun. It'll give you a different angle of that. And a lot of Rickenbackers too were slightly modified also to short that too. I've seen that too, where someone will be like, I plug it in and it's the same behavior on both outputs. And then when they go into the guts, like you could see it was like wired that way.
Yeah. Yeah, that happens a lot.
Yeah, I don't want to know which one I plug in. I'm just going to plug whatever, and it's going to be the same. And that happened in 1982, and you don't even know that's happened after you've like the 7th owner of this bass.
Hey, can we talk about just really quickly the whole weave thing?
Yeah,
because that was. I think your cable was the first one. You had 2 firsts
No.
in my book. No. I'm saying the first one that I was really aware of.
Okay.
And that and the snakehead thing. And I was like, what? Because I'd been working with like tangly cables and stepping on them and wrecking them and everything. And so tell us a little bit about that.
I mean, the weave, definitely we didn't come up with the weave and put weave on cable. That's been around for a long time. I think the weave to me is that there's a point where I think a lot of players, the cable is something that just very gets neglected in the concept of owning it or even understanding it. Everyone focuses on the guitar or instrument. Everyone focuses on the amp, but like everything in between minus pedals, obviously it's just a passing thought. It's just a cable. I don't even, good cable, bad cable, what's the difference, right?
Right.
And that's when I started looking for our cable. There was 2 things that I really wanted to address. It was tone. So I wanted a low capacitance cable and something that sounded really good, depending on what length they are. And I wanted durability. That was another big concern. I wanted to make sure if we had a cable, it was going to last for a while. I wanted to make sure it could take the abuse of getting rolled over and stepped on and wadded up and slammed in guitar cases and all sorts of stuff. And the weave is a function of that. It's designed to help protect that cable. It prevents the kinking in the binding. It can save a hit on a guitar case slamming on it. The whole thing, like, running in between stuff and snagging on stuff, that helps. I like the fact that poly weave is pretty much stain resistant. I'm not going to say it's like stain proof, but I really haven't seen it versus like a cotton or a cloth weave that you see. And you spill one beer on it and it's like, it's over.
You don't want to touch it either.
Yeah.
Those cotton ones. And they fray and
this stuff you can just, literally you can get a, can of air and blow dust and hair off of it or wipe it in some water or something. And then the color concept, that was one of our early things when we started. I picked a color palette that I felt really worked with our brand and just kind of like the Montana earthiness of it. So when we picked our original colors, that is kind of, I felt, set us apart a little bit, maybe just in the choice of colors. There was a lot of brights and stuff like that. We went with more of an earthy vibe, or richer, darker vibe at the time. And that was kind of that direction. But yeah, definitely, I don't want to say, we were the first one to do weave. There's plenty of people since then, before us, and all that. And, it's a multi-million-dollar company that makes that stuff. And, we're not its number one provider.
Right. So, I am.
Customer. Yeah, you are. But.
Well, I do think it's something that sets you guys apart in my book.
Yeah.
All of you just said it, all of the components that you decided, look, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. And as I mentioned, 7 years later, and I don't know how many gigs and how many practices and stuff, I'm still using those cables.
That's awesome.
And they're the ones that are laying all over the floor and getting stepped on and stomped on and wound up day after day after day. And I'm really glad you're putting out quality stuff.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love to hear that.
Well, Hank, is there anything in the near future that we can expect from you guys, or are you just going to keep doing what you're doing?
Oh man, this is one of these moments where it's like, do I say something or not? So, I guess maybe I will say something.
I think you should say something.
Okay. So, we get asked forever if we're ever going to do a coily cable.
Oh, get out of here.
I think it might happen. I'm not sure. I think we'll have to keep our eyes peeled and ears peeled the next few weeks if that happens or not. But yeah, that could be a thing.
You're just going to start production on that, and then so okay. Well, hypothetically, when that comes out, are we? What would we hypothetically expect? Is this going to be a weaved coily?
It won't be a weaved coily. Nope.
That's okay.
Nope. It'll be possibly 3 colors and possibly 25 feet long coiled up. Maybe. We don't know.
If that works out for your numbers.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If it happens, who knows? But yeah. Yeah. Could be red. Could be white. Could be black.
Okay.
Yeah, could be something. Yeah.
All right.
Well, if this were to happen, would there be a possibility of having a longer straight portion connected to the curly part?
Like 15 inches on both sides. Yeah, possibly.
Okay.
Possibly. But not 16, right?
It sounds like you really got to figure this out.
16 is just a little too much.
Right.
16 is too much.
Yeah. 14 would be too little. So
yeah. Yeah, you'll just have to see if that happens. But yeah, that's we also, I'll say this for sure, is we're going to have red PVC XLR cable, which we have 2 very popular colors, oxblood and what we have, Sidewinder red. Mm-hmm. And that is because we have a black weevil for red PVC, and it gives it this kind of like fishnet stocking, like super rich dark maroon. So popular. Everyone loves the oxblood, but everyone been wanting mic cables with this. So we'll be able to do that here too, hopefully in the next couple weeks.
That's really cool. Very, very cool. Well, hypothetically, I'm excited for what you're doing.
Nice. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to transition from here over into the wild, wild world of Tony.
This point of the show, there is a section that everyone loves, apparently. I'm told.
Uh-huh.
It's called Would You Rather?
He just gave up right away on that one,
I just gave up.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
I guess so.
I can re-record it.
Rob?
Yo.
Can you just, you're taking up space. Do something over here. Sing the thing.
What thing?
The would you rather?
Oh no, you've got me confused with.
gosh.
You got me confused with a 6'3" guy.
Jeez. 6. Well,
I don't know how
that's
you.
if he's sitting
how
down.
You made that. Yeah.
All right. Well,
Robs do not
Tony, I guess
sing.
that'll have to do. Continue, please.
As long as it suits your needs, my liege.
Yes.
So this week's Would You Rather comes to us from our good friend and executive producer, Greg T. Randall, a.k.a.
Greg T. Randall.
Gregory Randall, or the GTR.
The GTR. Yes. Okay.
Which is, how I used to abbreviate guitar, GTR.
You still can. But I don't know what's the point. Keep going. What do you
I like to, just have
I know,
little tangents. So this week, you have been captured and taken to the lair of the evil Professor Squeaker Bellows.
Whoa. Wait, there's we've got a
new character.
Not a new character, a new, it's like we got
Arch-villain.
the Legion of Doom.
Yes, this is the arch villain. His anger and bitterness toward all things guitar comes from the belief that the accordion is a far superior instrument and should have been more popular. And at one point,
It was.
the accordion was.
Yes.
And then people came to their senses in the 1950s.
According to you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Accordion to me.
Thanks, Hank. I appreciate that.
Riddle.
Yes.
Through his methodical
That
madness.
joke really blew.
Can I continue?
Yes.
Through his methodical madness, the professor has developed a special time machine. Not our time machine, but a special
one.
That will go back in time and switch one person from the band that they were supposed to be in into another band, forever changing the history of guitar
Yes.
music.
It's a mustard yellow Ford Pinto.
That's a nice color.
Yeah.
That's a really nice color. It'll make a nice cable.
I would. Yeah, mustard yellow.
I see
That
one
would.
right there.
Yeah. Well, that's the orange one.
Orange.
That's orange?
It's copper. It's copper color. I have that one. That's my stage. That's the one that goes from my pedal board to my amp. Anyway, go ahead.
I gotcha. His targets are, and this is kind of fun, and this is the Would You Rather.
Thank goodness.
Switching Dave Davies and George Harrison.
Okay, Dave Davies from the Kinks.
Yes. And George Harrison of some unknown group that came out of Liverpool.
Never heard of
Right.
him.
Or switching Pete Townsend and Keith Richards.
Oh, that's blasphemy
So
there.
so just imagine you're switching and these. Yeah,
What does this have to do with the accordion?
Well, the mad professor does not like guitar or guitar players, and he wants to destroy the world of guitar music by having these personnel changes, shall we say?
Did Dave Davies play the accordion?
No.
No.
What am I missing here?
No. If you change the guitar players, then you'll screw up the space-time.
Well, what does that have to do
continuum
with an accordion?
Has nothing to do with the
It's
accordion.
the downfall of guitardom.
He wants to destroy all
he's
things
trying
guitars.
okay, but not okay. Sorry,
Nobody here
I
plays
missed that
the
part.
accordion.
Okay, well, there's a big accordion bit. in the
These are
front.
4 non-accordion playing
Okay, all
guitar
right.
players.
Okay,
Well, although you never
Well,
know, they
maybe
might
they
have
play
picked up on it.
accordion,
You know,
yeah.
I like a nice
me
accordion.
thinks the professor hath made 3 lefts to make a right.
Okay.
So the professor is going to make you decide which switch would you rather make.
So, do we want to destroy guitar music for the maximum destruction, or we want to do the least amount of destruction?
Well, that
Good
can be
question.
part of your explanation.
Oh,
perhaps.
okay, that's a great question, Hank.
Yes.
Okay, Tanya, you're most closely associated with your old schoolmates. So
Yeah, you grew up with most of these guys. So.
oh, for God's sakes. I'm old, but not that old.
So why don't you lead us off
All right. Well, I think...
and name 3 Kinks songs?
3 Kinks songs?
Yes.
You really got me.
Okay.
Waterloo Sunset.
Okay.
What's the Lola?
Okay.
You want more?
No, that's
He
fine.
could have said anything, and I'd be like,
Yeah.
all right.
Well, when he said you really got me, I was like, really?
That's
Holy
the
cow!
one I
I
got.
thought you knew that. Okay. Anyways, go ahead.
As made popular by the band Van Halen.
Yes. Okay.
Well, I think, and this is, if I wanted to create maximum damage,
Yes.
I think switching Dave Davies and George Harrison would have probably the Beatles would be non-existent. I mean, Dave Davies is a great guitar player, but his style is
Good singer too.
Yes, actually, he did sing on a lot of on the Kinks stuff, and also did the high parts.
Yeah.
And imagine the Beatles with somebody that really rocked out on guitar.
Yeah, heavy Beatles.
Yeah.
This was what it turned into.
But on the other hand,
Well, it might have turned into maybe what the Beatles was going to be, because John rocked hard pretty much,
he rocked hard pretty.
much, you know.
Much, I think Todd just had a stroke. Hold on a minute.
Synapses occurring.
Well, that's a
not-
really interesting thing. What if the Beatles were like had more, oomph, like some of the King stuff?
instead of tight trousers. But on the other hand, if you wanted to, minimize the damage, I think switching Pete Townsend and Keith Richards.
Oh, I don't know.
You are
I
out of your
mean,
damn mind.
Pete
don't think-
Townsend and Stones.
Oh, wait, we got to
no.
save it. Save the criticism.
Yes.
Okay,
So-
you've made your decision.
I was explaining.
So you're trying to be good or bad then?
He's trying to be bad. He said it would be more devastating to switch Ray Davies
I was
with George
trying
Harrison.
to answer Hank's question,
But yes,
or at least provide information.
Uh-huh.
Me personally,
No, not you. You said you personally. Ugh. Yeah, I heard it. Rob, you heard it too.
I'm sorry. What are we doing here again?
Okay,
Good.
I can be. I have a mean streak every once in a while.
Okay.
Every once in a while.
So Angry Tony.
So Angry Tony says, "Switch Dave Davies and George Harrison."
Okay. All right. All right. Excellent. That's the worst you can do.
Creepy
Questionably.
slurp at the
It's
end.
creepy. slurp.
Hank, how about yourself?
I mean, I would agree. I think
Really?
Well, no, you
Yeah.
you don't have to agree. You could be nice and just
No.
pick
Oh.
the one that was least damaging.
Yeah, no, I want to go with the worst. I would agree with that. I think if you take George Harrison out, that would be pretty mind blowing. But I am kind of intrigued by the idea of a heavier Beatles. So it'd be,
Yeah. Could be interesting.
God, I mean, just like what's that Revolution song? God, I'm trying to think. Like if we got like a heavier Beatles, could be pretty interesting. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think no Harrison replaced with Davies. I think that would be the end of the Beatles early on. So
Yeah, the other
destruction.
The other part of that, had Keith Richards been in the Who earlier on, Keith Moon would have probably been dead about 10 years earlier.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rob, how about you?
All right. Okay, I'm still not really clear on why we're picking what we're picking.
Because
but
this is the evil guy.
Okay, this is-
evil,
so evil?
professor. You don't have to be mean.
Well, I was going to say, so I think probably the greatest damage would be done if Keith wasn't in the Stones.
Agreed. I mean,
'Cause-
I'm not
'cause-
agree.
'cause-
I'll tell you later.
Because I think the Beatles, the two primary writers, you change any one of those guys, and of course it's not going to be the same. But you've got, Paul and John, primary writers for
Right.
most of the stuff. So if you remove George from that, the less damage would be done versus taking Keith out of the Stones. It's like, well,
Keith.
damn, all those
Yeah.
guitar parts that are.
Well, no, but give Brian Jones a little credit though too.
Yeah, I'll give him a little credit, but I think that's going to be more like, okay, they're more drastically changed of all those. Yeah, so that's what so me, I want to be the nice guy. I agree. I think switching Kinks and Beatles will do the least amount of damage.
Well, I disagree with you.
I know
It
you do.
really depends on what year, too. That's either at the very beginning or at the point where the Beatles ended and the Stones kept going.
The Mad Professor does not care.
Well, there we go.
That's a huge difference.
Okay.
Yeah,
Todd-
we could have said a particular year.
Yes, that would Mad Professor left out a few things, but that's okay. We're gonna. I'm. There's no way that I can accept that Pete Townsend subbing for Keith
No.
Richards makes any sense at all.
But imagine the songs that would come out of that. 'Cause
No, because the whole thing is Keith's got this amazing restraint, and Pete has none.
There's a different
None restraint.
What am I looking for? Not vibe, but there's a different swagger to Keith's playing.
savvy.
So yeah, I'm with Todd on this one.
Yeah.
Todd, did you decide?
I just did.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't even notice.
Yeah. Anyways, that was a really fun question, though. And if we would have added in like what year, because that really does. Now, hypothetically,
probably be, yeah.
hypothetically, let's just say this was at the very beginning,
Okay.
because both bands were a little bit more
What do you call the very
Like-
beginning?
ruckus.
What do you call the very beginning?
The very beginnings of each band.
Okay.
So when they were both doing when the Stones were kind of doing a lot more like bluesy covers and but still pop. There's still pop. Mm-hmm. And when they were both wearing the suits and the tight trousers and
Okay.
Ed Sullivan and all that business.
Early 60s.
Yes,
Okay.
as opposed to the other beginning.
Yeah, the other beginning.
Anyways, I think that you probably could say. You could swap those guys and everything would be probably fine for a little bit.
Well, I guess, and especially for that, because they each band hadn't.
They hadn't become themselves
right,
yet.
They
exactly.
hadn't matured.
Yeah. So, whereas if we took like kind of the height of the
Like
Beatlemania
Beatles Let It Be or
versus-
something like that versus,
The other guys.
later Stones, any of the later Stones at all.
Let it bleed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, okay, carry on. We're going forward. We need to thank a few people. That was a great question.
Yes. Thanks, GTR.
Yes.
At this point of the show, Todd, there's a special group of people we love to thank.
Yes,
These are
indeed.
our executive producers. Now, executive producers make this show possible.
Indeed.
How do you become one? Head over to patreon.com/the Guitar Knobs. Check out a couple different levels in which you can participate, become a sponsor, a patron, a hero. Give me another word.
A wonderkind.
A Wunderkind
Yes.
of the podcast. Each level comes with some very nice thank you gifts, and by very nice, I mean very nice.
Real nice, Clark.
Real nice, Clark. Get yourself something real nice. And it opens up the world to giveaways that we do. We have some coming up that we're going to be giving away
Yeah.
immediately, if not sooner. But there's one thing more as an executive producer. Jared, what would that be?
You get to have your name read on the thing.
You're sounding less and less like Jared every day.
I know. It's fine.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I know.
You get your name read on the thing, and that's what I'm going to do right now. So special thanks to these executive producers. Vader and Pedals, John Halverson, Rick Calhoun, Trevor Gunberg, Elad Mizrahi, Mike D, Richard Kendall, James White, Motander Guitars, Anthony Gemolero, Bill Gola Guitars, John Esterly, Anthony Lathrop, Stefan Lamb, Michael Senchuk, Ken Sayers, Doug Christ, Darren Gregory, Tom Barazin, Rusty Sneeden, Ralph Gottschalk, Don Kloss, Greg Randall, GTR, Brett Hogarth, Eric Hemmer, Stuart George, Michael Furman, James Bell, James Romer, Cameron Pampas, David Tyndall, Trevor Ellenberg, and Christopher Logan.
Awesome.
Oh, but Todd,
Yes.
there's more. Because we have a special group of executive producers. We call them our Grand Poobahs. The Poobahs get to wear a fez upon their head
Indeed.
whilst listening to the podcast.
And at the same time.
Yes. So special thanks to these Grand Poobahs. Tommy Manasco, Ricardo Iguereda, David Kaminga, Brandon Wow Sound Pickups, Hex Matos, Michio Murakishi, Bob Crouch, Jack Cadian, Sam Jett, Tyler Rhines, LSJ Music Company, John Williams, James Pennington, Steve Keys, Cody Foster, Science of Sound, Brian Robison, Jonathan Jerusik, Corey Nigro, Michael Van Zant, Tim Nowak, Jonathan Daly, Martin Cliff, Sean S. David Poe, Billy Spitfire Unlimited, Congregation Gear Demos, Paul Van Eppinger, Von Eppinger. I say Van all the time. Paul Von Eppinger.
Yes.
Scott Sullivan, Great Lakes Guitar Pickups, Matt Hurt, Enrico Fernando, and Moon Guitars.
Yes. Thank you, everyone, for submitting yourselves to the fine fun that is the Patreon game. We're very grateful for you. It keeps this going. Hank.
Yeah.
While Tony was on his NPR burn right there, you and I concocted a plan, and what we'd like to do is give a fantastic Rattlesnake Cable to one of our Patreon listeners.
Ooh, cool.
And Hank is going to send it out to the winner. It won't be coming from us. It's going to be coming from Rattlesnake. So look for a Rattlesnake box. When we end up doing that, more to come on that. But I would very much like to get one of these nice cables in the hands of our listeners.
That's smart thinking.
All right. Hank, where can people go to find out more about, hypothetically, what might be happening in the future and or your existing actual cables?
Cool. Well, is there a way that I could do something nice for the listeners as well?
Absolutely.
So I set up a page on our site, rattlesnakecables.com/guitar knobs, and you can pick up a 20% discount code. If you wanted to
Right
give
on.
us a try. So that would be one way of seeing what we're about. You can go to rattlesnakecables.com/guitar knobs. And if you follow us on all the socials, we're everywhere, TikTok, YouTube, all that stuff, but primarily Instagram and Facebook is where we post the most. And that's just facebook.com/rattlesnakecables and instagram.com/rattlesnakecables.
That is too cool. I really appreciate that. And you did that while Tony was NPRing too?
That's what you used to do, man.
Aren't you guys listening to me? You're hurting my feelings.
No, we're just
You're just multitaskers.
Yeah. Anyways, Tony, where can people find you?
Head over to pickguardian.com. Check out some of the things that I have available for purchase online. But, by and large, what I do is custom work. So shoot me an email. Let me know what you're doing, what you're trying to do, what you're needing, what you're trying to need, and what you're trying to get made.
Gosh.
What you're making and what you're trying to get made.
Special. Rob, where can people find you?
Instagram, Facebook, OnlyFans.
What?
Nice. The good stuff.
What?
That's where you see the real messed up repairs.
Jeez.
The
I'm
stuff
not
that's
really.
too
You have,
gory for
you have me
Instagram.
stymied right now. I'm not really sure where to go.
Is that an adult-only channel?
Go to
Exactly.
Mad Cow Amplification on
After Dark.
Instagram. Yeah.
Mad Cow After Dark.
Yeah, right. You can shoot me an email, todd@theguitarknobs.com. You can reach me quickly at Guitar Knobs on Instagram. Quickly. We'd love to hear what's going on with you. Send us your would you rathers, your hopes, your dreams, and all that good stuff. And also, please go check out the Valentinos. We have our new EP out, and that's on Spotify and Apple and all that business.
Nice.
And get yourself a stomper. We keep selling these black sparkle ones for your HX Stomp and others.
Maybe you should put an upcharge on the black and gold ones.
Oh, that's messed up. Just because they're more popular.
Halloween is just about over, so this doesn't really matter. But get yourself a Hazard orange one. Those are cool.
And order one today before the price goes up.
They're $10. Protect your knobs, everybody. All right, Hank, it was great talking with you, man. It's been a long time, and
Great to be back.
Very excited that you are still doing the things that you do, and for the hypothetical cool things that are coming.
Yep.
All right, everybody. Have a fantastic guitar week and subscribe.
Well, it was before I started.
Just before.
Just before.
Only just.
Wee little bit.
Hank.
I'm just going to call them someday and be like, I need to speak to the pickup guy.
Yeah. No, I'm not here. I mean, he's not here. All right.
Oh, before you put your ears on, can you grab me a soda pop?
My goodness sakes. Hank, do you want anything from the fridge?
Oh, I'm good. Thank you.
Hi, Hank.
Hank, will you like this? Would you rather?
It's about wireless guitars. Hopefully that was a little bit more, I'm not going to say polished. That's not the right word.
It was longer.
It was longer.
It was more.
It was more something.
It was more something. I don't know what, but it was something. Yeah. But aside from that, he's exceptional at what he does.
Thank you, Todd.
You're welcome.
Exceptional?
Exceptional.
Yeah.
That was a nice compliment from Todd. Just let it go.
It was crazy. Anyways, we've evolved, man. We're medium time now.
Nice.
Come on, Todd. I thought there was a podcast tonight.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm bar back for.
And when you're done with that,
Johnny Vegas.
when you're done with that, can you maybe sweep up the floor a little bit? Hank.
And away we go.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/theguitarknobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Catch you next time.